Welcome to Red-tastic. Story 1. My 29 females dad married my stepmom, 56, when I was 17. As far as stepmothers go, she's okay. We get along. Like family dinner is a calm event and we can talk freely about life. However, she came with a daughter, 28, and that daughter is a terror. While we were still living together, she would raid my wardrobe, take my newest clothes and claim they were hers. When I insisted she return them, she would bring them back with stains that were impossible to remove. It didn't matter if I marked anything in the fridge as mine. That's what she always went for. She was fond of playing her music really loud on days when I was trying to sleep in. Even when I tried to tell her to turn it down, she has always ignored what I say and never respected my property. Anyways, we are now in our 20s. I now live at my stepmom's maternal house. I bought it from them a few years ago when they were in debt, but my stepsister never came to terms with the fact that I bought her grandma's house. My stepsister is a single mom and was living with a boyfriend. A few months ago, however, her boyfriend dumped her and she had to find a place to live. My stepmother reached out to me and asked me to take her in. I was a little hesitant because she hasn't been all that much nicer to me since we got older, but they all insisted that it was temporary, so I agreed. My stepsister moved in with her attitude. She tried to take control of the house, telling me what needs to change, trying to change up my decor, and dictating where I put basic things like my coat and shoes, because it was her grandma's house. I did my best to shut down those instances of passive aggression. I reminded her that it was now my house, but she ignored that. A month ago, my boyfriend, 30 male, and I decided to take a weekend retreat. When I got back, all my stuff had been moved to the basement and the house had been baby-proofed. None of these changes were done gently too. They damaged the floor and wall in trying to move all the furniture about in a hurry. To add to that, my stepsister had allowed her ex-boyfriend to move in. I was livid because I had bought the house with my money and was not going to tolerate such behavior. I tried talking to her calmly, but that quickly accelerated into a fight. She kept claiming that she was more entitled to the house since it had been her grandmother's, and I was being unreasonable because she clearly had a family and needed more room. I told her that her move was disrespectful. Why couldn't she have talked to me before? I tried to move aside her baby stuff and she was on the brink of physical violence. She started shouting at me not to touch her things. Yet she had no problem moving mine to the basement. Once that initial shock had passed, I asked them to move out, but they scoffed at that too. I had to show them the deed to get them to listen to me. I followed that up by telling them I'm giving them 3 days to pack up and leave or I would evict them and then sue for damages. The news made rounds and now my dad and stepmom are not talking to me. Am I the a-hole? I took her in and she disrespected me. Update. Because I've dealt with my stepsister for quite a while now, I know she needs extra pressure to pay attention to what I say. So I prepared eviction papers in case they were not willing to leave. They weren't. I found them cooking and chatting like this was their home. They hadn't even bothered to move some of their stuff out of the main bedroom and bathroom. There were no packing boxes anywhere. In fact, it seemed that they had been busy hanging up their family portraits in the living room, making my house their home. It was almost as though I had never asked them to move. I was forced to hand them the papers. I don't think they were expecting that. Even then, they weren't quick to comply. Rather than talking to me rationally, I'm not irrational and would have listened to reason. We would have worked something out, probably. My stepsister and her ex-boyfriend started howling insults at me and doing their best to make a scene. My stepsister picked out some of my plates and threw them in my direction. Luckily, they all missed me, but that was extra damage she would not pay for. She kept screaming like a maniac, saying over and over that she was being robbed of a birthright and getting thrown out unjustly. She accused me of being jealous of her and trying to get rid of her altogether. Her boyfriend had the audacity to call me pompous and insensitive, and asking them to leave was very selfish of me. They asked what they would do with the baby as though that was my responsibility. I secretly took out my phone to record the entire ordeal. I might need the proof in future when I take out a restriction order. Where my stepsister is concerned, you never know. When they realized I was not backing down despite their theatrics, they went to their room and started shouting at each other. I found out then that they had never really broken up in the first place, and it was their plan all along so they could move in and then kick me out because they apparently thought it's rightfully hers because it's her granny's house. Anyway, after I threatened to involve the authorities, they started packing up. Stepmom and dad will take them in. At the moment, it's a small house. A 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. It will definitely be cramped with all of them living together. I can't wait to see them gone and get my house back. I hope my stepsister picks up some respect and niceness along the way. OP, I can't believe the level of entitlement your stepsister has. What part of you bought the house, so it's yours, doesn't she understand? You were willing to take her in even though you had every reason not to, based on what she did to you in your early years. And for that, I would say you're really a good person. You did absolutely nothing wrong. She disrespected you, asked her boyfriend to move in without your consent, and she even took all your stuff to the basement. You should have served her the eviction papers like yesterday, kick them out, and if they won't leave, involve the police. Story 2. My sister has a 12-year-old daughter, and they both live a few blocks away from my house. My niece often comes over on weeknights and weekends to play with her cousins, who are similarly aged. My niece is 5 feet tall and 145 pounds. She gets teased at school and she's pretty unhappy at this weight. My sister serves a lot of junk food and sabotages my niece's health. She's a single mom and the dad is not in the picture. She uses food as a comfort tool for the both of them. My sister always uses excuses, such as that my niece won't eat vegetables or she's too picky. At my house, Friday is usually pizza night, but we eat healthy the rest of the week to make up for it. Sometimes, the food that my niece gets at my house will be her only serving of fresh fruit or vegetables. So when she comes over, I cancel pizza night. The reason that I give is that it's not polite to order pizza for guests, and I'd rather serve something fancier. It's usually flown under the radar. Instead, I would make roast chicken and vegetables with fruit for dessert, or a quinoa dish with vegetables and chickpeas. My niece would participate in the cooking, and she is certainly capable of eating healthy food. One night, my kids, who are 9 and 11, told my sister that it's unfair that we cancel pizza night on Fridays, and asked her if they could come over another night. My sister asked me to clarify, and I said I would cancel pizza night because my niece loves to explore new dishes that I make for her. She told me that I'm singling out my niece and fat-shaming her. I told my sister that it's my house, my rules, and I never framed it in a way to make it about my niece's weight. The conversation was had when my niece was out of the house. My sister said that my niece won't be coming over anymore. So am I the asshole? OP, you're not forcing your niece to eat healthy food, and it's nice that you're looking out for her health. Your sister needs to address her own relationship with food because she's setting up her daughter for a lifetime of unhealthy eating habits, and that isn't fair to her. It sounds like your niece likes the break from the junk food and is aware that it's not good for her. It's unfortunate that her health and happiness is being held back because of her mom's habits. Maybe if your sister would be interested in ordering meal kits or be open to you teaching her how to cook more healthy meals. Just have an honest conversation with your sister about everything, and I hope she listens. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. Your sister is being obnoxious about this, not because she's worried about you fat-shaming your niece. It's because you basically called her out for serving her child junk. Your niece enjoyed the food that you served and enjoyed cooking with you. The only thing that I would have done differently is to move pizza night so your kids wouldn't have felt deprived and ratted you out. I totally get why your kids are bummed out. They spend the whole week looking forward to pizza, and then when the magical day arrives finally, they find out they're having quinoa with fruit as dessert. And now they've got to wait another week for their dream to come true while praying that their cousin doesn't wreck things yet again. Story 3. I was at a pretty small restaurant yesterday when I noticed my sister's fiancé there too. I would have gone up and said hello, but I noticed that there was a woman crying into his chest, and he was hugging her. It looked pretty intimate, so I didn't feel comfortable intruding on their moment. I just got a weird vibe because it didn't seem like it was a platonic friend. It felt like I was walking in on a romantic movie. I took my phone out and sent a picture to my sister and asked, "Do you know her?" She said, "No, I'll talk to him later tonight to see what happened. Thanks." I got seated on the other side of the room, so I didn't see them leave together or separately. I didn't want to keep looking at them because I already felt a bit guilty for taking a photo of them. That brings us to today. My sister and her fiancé apparently had a big fight because when she asked who he was eating out with last night, he said, "The guys from work, we had to discuss some stuff." My sister asked if he was sure, and her fiancé said, "Yeah, I know who I ate with last night." And that's when my sister showed him the photo that I took of him and the woman. He blew up at her and accused her of spying on him. She told him that I was the one who sent her the photo, and he apparently said I was crazy and seeing things that weren't there. He said that his co-worker didn't get a promotion she had worked really hard on, so she was devastated. He brought her to a restaurant after work to comfort her, and she cried into his chest because she was really sad. When my sister asked why he didn't just tell her that from the beginning, he said that he knew my sister would overreact and that it was innocent. He said he was being a good co-worker and friend. My sister asked why he said he was with one of the guys from work when he was eating with just that one woman, and he said that she's like one of the guys. He left to go to sleep with his parents because they couldn't stop arguing about what really happened that night. My sister called me and wouldn't hang up until I told her every detail from that night. Now I feel guilty for causing their fight. Her fiancé had an excuse for everything she was suspicious about. Am I the a-hole for sending my sister that photo? Not the a-hole OP. You were looking out for your sister, something pretty much everyone can relate to. You went with a gut instinct, and that was that something seemed suspicious. You did the right thing. The fact that her fiancé is coming up with excuses and not just being straightforward about the situation is a huge red flag. I bet there's more to it than he says or more to the situation overall. Condolences to your sister, but she should definitely do a double take and lot of thinking before marrying this man.